And action, we're back, man. Let's do that again.
Hey, bro,
Wednesdays, Kelly Ken business.
Bro, 1 second. Just stay.
Go on. Let's hope Kenny's not doing nonsense. Is he frozen? I hope this isn't back now early doors. But yeah, big up the chat. Wednesdays, as I was saying, it's Kenny Ken and DJB time. DJB, big him up. Someone post his channel in the chat. He's not here today. He'll be back here. Obviously, go on Dan Potts' stream. You would have seen me, Kenny, Dan, obviously, the whole shebang. Everybody was there, people. But yeah, man. What are you lot saying, people? Any questions, get them in. It's been an eventful period, we'd say, with Arsenal fans, people. Have you lot got goosebumps? Is it an unprecedented summer? Obviously, Kai Havertz has picked up an injury. It's now come out that he's picked up this knee injury against Manchester United. Obviously, Trossard signed a new deal. There's bare things going on, man. So, yeah, we got a lot to discuss, man. Let Kenny get settled, get sorted, and we'll get straight into business, people. I'm sure he's got a lot to say. Anyone want to see how long it takes before he says anything about Andrea Berto? I don't know. A man said, Jackson incoming, brace yourselves. I mean, we've seen worse. Have we? Probably. Jackson, Sancho, the rumors makes itself. Darkness. Absolute darkness. We have to sign a forward now. Realistically, I think it presses the need to sign a left winger. Like, I would have loved to have seen a Gyökeres and a Sesko, or a Gyökeres and a developmental striker. I still think there's scope for that. I think it just, for me, presses the need, folks, of us needing a left winger. Like, it just makes you need a left. We can maneuver with Gyökeres and obviously a bad boy left winger, Madueke, Trossard, all the men are in the squad. Marino goes up front. It is what it is. We'll mix and blend. I would love to see Martinelli tried up front, but unless we become a fully transitional team, my guy, it's not going to happen. Kenny's back. He's sorted. Where do we start, Kenny, man?
Sorry about that. It's just a little last-minute emergencies. So it's all sorted now anyway.
Minor, man. It's been an eventful 24 to 48 hours concerning our football club, man.
It has. And the reason why it has is because simple reason is that the real action started. The Man United game left us very, 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 very underwhelled. Like we thought it would be, because we came into pre-season, we're very rusty. And because we were very rusty during pre-season, game like Man United, they got new strikers. They got kind of virtually, new team, So basically, the situation is regarding that is that, we're always going to be under the cosh as a case of whoever got the first goal was going to be difficult to beat. But I think where the problem started, were noticeable was we were second to mostly every ball in the midfield, especially in the first half. Had the feet all over the place. We're having to make a lot of last-ditch tackles, last-ditch blocks. Forcing Man United in areas where they just had shots which were comfortable. Raya had to make a great save from Cunha. And it's a case of we were just leaving a lot of gaps. In the second half, we became a bit tighter. We tightened up a bit. Our substitutions, were auxiliary substitutions, and we kind of like weathered the storm. Man United just kind of ran out of gas. But I think what it comes from is from a place of the fact that it was always about laying down a marker. In terms of, like, for instance, if Liverpool, play Bournemouth and they win comfortably, which to a certain extent they score 4 goals, 4 very good goals, then that's a marker. 1-4-2. But when they're under the cosh, they were able to have that kind of cutting edge in order to take the game away from Bournemouth. Then you saw Man City, new look Man City, in terms of like getting their players in, new players in, and getting players off the bench, and they were able to sort of make sure that they laid down a marker. So the onus is on us, Arsenal Football Club, even though it's Old Trafford, even though we've only once won there probably about 3 times in 19 years, it was still a case where we had to lay down a marker, because Man United, as big a club as they are, they finished 15th last season. So that's where the problem started. And then you got the fallout. Fans weren't happy. Not one fan was happy with the performance. Not one fan was impressed.
Neither was the manager or several players. Like, everybody's in agreement. The performance was good enough. But we'll take the result.
Very few people connected to our football club who looked at that performance and said, "Yeah, and we're glad to win." It was like we won, but we were angry. And then today, yesterday we had the sort of like very strange occurrence of Trossard, who we thought was going to leave the club. the club didn't quite announce. They announced it in quite a nuancing way. We're not giving them an extension. We're giving them a pay rise, which was basically an announcement out of nothing. And then, in the last couple of hours, we Havertz, who's tactically disruptive, although some people see him as tactically important, gets a knee injury. Now, we don't know the extent of the injury in terms of its seriousness, but the whole morale goes down because we're worried about numbers. And then the whole situation regarding why didn't we sign certain players? Are we going to get new bodies in? Because there's 12 days to go in the market, and everyone thinks our business has been done. But the segue to that is that with Arsenal, especially in the way Arsenal want to do things, the situation with Arsenal is that Arsenal, like I said, have to sell before they need to buy.
Bullshit.
Well, but that's the situation because
it's the reality, but it's a cop out.
But the situation is Arsenal are very they're closer to the European UEFA's FFP than they are to the Premiership's PSR. So Arsenal sort of more kind of resistant to.
But we never heard a word. It's not that it's wrong, but we didn't hear. And I mean, we shouldn't really because we're not privy to the information. But we never heard a word of that Champions League FFP stuff until now. I think it's not that it's wrong, but I think that's the latest one that they're throwing at us, man.
Yeah, well, that's the situation regarding the whole situation regarding the FFP. It's very important for Arsenal. Let's not forget Arsenal were the biggest advocates of that. Hello, you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is Arsenal are massive advocates of FFP and PSR. So for Arsenal to be on the sort of cusp of FFP and then they go and buy a player where they're going to go over the threshold, it's something that Arsenal ain't going to want to do. The situation is that when we talk about Eberechi Eze, you get a feeling that it was very much a sort of how to say it, a luxury signing.
Exactly. Too much dominoes needed to fall into place to get it for us to get it.
Whilst other players we've bought are essentials, we've known for the last few years that Arsenal need a winger.
This is where, for me, Kenny, when I said, you know what, fair enough, Mikel and everyone else, you lot know more about football than me. Just make sure in May 2026 we've got a trophy. It's as simple as that. I don't agree with what you've done. I think there's a lot more to do. I want to ask you as well to kick off the show. Yeah, are you feeling? Remember ahead of the summer, Mikel Arteta said goosebumps. Are you feeling these goosebumps, Kenny?
Look, you're always going to feel it when the Premier season starts. The goosebumps. For the simple reason is that you miss the football. There is football in the summer. Obviously, you watch some international tournaments. You watch pre-season tournaments like the World Club Championship. It's very important, and Arsenal should be a part of it. And then you had the diet of the women's Euros, and that was always going to be something to get you warmed up for the real thing. And then the goosebumps start when you start signing players or get linked with players. That's when the goosebumps starts. And then what you do is that you mentally calculate how many points you're going to get within a season. You're going to sort of pick out key games because you've already got the fixture list and say, right, we can win there. We might drop points there, blah, blah. We're going to need that so much amount of points in order to win the league because we think that our rival's going to get the points as well. So it's one of those things where you look at the season and you do become excited, and then you become even more excited because get the goosebumps or have the anticipation because you feel that, well, we finished second and we weren't ourselves. And when you feel like you haven't done yourself justice, you can't wait. You're raring to go, aren't you? You're raring to go.
Facts.
And then you have the other situation where you look at the Champions League and you think, bloody hell, we've lost to the eventual winners. We got really close in terms of where we were in the competition. And we kind of pinpoint where we were short. And then you think, right, we get Mendy, we get certain other players, we can go one better, and you just can't wait. The luxury position was a striker. Everyone wanted a striker. We got a striker. That in turn gives you goosebumps because, according to Arsenal fans, we didn't win trophies. We didn't win the league because we didn't have a striker. So now we've got a striker. We should win the league. In layman's terms, you may think so, but really, in footballing terms, it probably is a bit. You need more than that,
naive, man.
You need more than that. Because the reason why you need more than that is because you look at other areas and you look at performances of certain other players and you think we can improve in that position. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a striker.
Which I think you're right. Like, I think it's naive. It's a contributing factor, of course, Kenny. But like, if you just purely, if anyone can look me in my face and tell me exactly how we saw the season play out, whether it was PSG, Premier League, semi-finals, FA Cup, the exact same thing happens. But we've got your Sesko, your Gyökeres, your Isak, your Haaland, whatever up front in place of whoever was there, right? Do we win silverware? And if you say you do, we do, then fair enough. Hopefully the delay is worth it. I personally don't agree with it. And then we did hear in February, unprecedented summer. You feeling like this is an unprecedented summer, Kenny?
Well, you say unprecedented summer. It's all about anticipation. You think about it, it's the same sort of like concept as what do you give the transfer window? So you will get to the 1st of September. Everyone's going to sort of like do their kind of like sort out their
rating,
their mathematics, their early mathematics, and they say, right, out of 10, what you give to transfer window?
6.
And I always say to people is that you can't give it anything. Realistically, you can't really give it anyone. The reason why you can't give it anything because you're giving it you're already giving the marks out of 10, or you're giving percentages because of not because of what they're going to do. It's how you're impressed by it. And at the end of the day, you can be impressed by a transfer window, and it all looks good. But really, the real, like I said, bread and butter, the real sort of, like I said, evaluations are going to be across the season. For instance, you talk about our good friend Victor Gyökeres. At the end of the day, it's going to be how many goals he scores, or how many important goals he scored. You may say, like, one of the reasons why people give Mbappe a bit of criticism last season. Now you look at his numbers; he scored over 30-something goals. But Real fans and football fans, are looking at other nuances. They're thinking, right, did those goals win important games for Real Madrid? Like a semi-final of the Champions League against Arsenal. That's what football fans be looking for. Spanish Cup. Did he score goals in the Spanish Cup? In the kind of Clasico games against Barcelona. Those are what we're looking for. And I think the same things will be for Odegaard. We're going to look, right, did he go Anfield and score a winner at Anfield? In a tight game where it's the 95th minute, we're playing Everton at Emirates. Liverpool are losing to Fulham. Man City are drawing 0-0 at Old Trafford. Arsenal need to win to go that, need to win so they can go 2 points clear in the title race. 95th minute, that's when you look for Gyökeres to put the ball in the net. And I think that's how you kind of evaluate a transfer. That's how I evaluate it. But I do understand it's impressive, but you've seen many times in football, you can buy the players, buy the Galacticos, they may not gel. The team don't gel. Or it takes a long time for the player to be acclimatised to the way you play. And then, whilst you're waiting for the player to become acclimatised to the way you play, Liverpool are still in the march. They're 5 points ahead.
They've gone up
Man
in the
City
win.
not too far behind them. They're 4 points behind. So you're always playing catch up.
Which is facts. For me, obviously, I mark it down. And again, you made a great point that the window isn't shut yet. But I did expect, I don't think we're the greatest of sellers. I didn't think Berta's going to change it all. But I would have thought there would have been some level of a sale. I do like the squad additions. I personally think individually, I'd give Gyökeres a 10 out of 10. I'd give Zubimendi a 10 out of 10. But they're the only level raisers. Fair enough. They've put their hat on Madueke. Go and prove me wrong. That's not the talismanic left winger I wanted. So it's just a mixed bag, really. And again, it does feel a bit rinse and repeat. We're kind of used to hearing, kind of bullish chat in the build up to the summer, especially because of how January went, and it's just a mess now. If I'm completely honest with you, we'll get go on.
You say it's a mess. I can see where you're coming from, and the reason why I see where you're coming from, I see where you come from. You know why? Because the state of play at the moment is that the best Arsenal side under Mikel, and a team that you thought, right, really look like a team that can win trophies and can win the titles, a 23-24 side. And that is peak Mikel. That's peak Arsenal under Mikel. Just like if you think about Wenger in the Emirates Stadium, peak Wenger at the Emirates, not Highbury, the Emirates, was a 2007-2008 team that should have won the league because they were playing the best
league, man.
And you look at 23-24, that's when Arsenal really looked like a team that meant business under Mikel.
Especially the run towards the end of the year. Well, season.
Now, you at the moment, the reason why you could probably concern is because, well, hang on here, we don't even look like we're reaching that standard of 23-24, and we didn't win the league. So the kind of the pessimism, looks back, like if you look at the performances of certain players, they haven't reached those levels of 23-24. None of their players really have. Respect for the goalkeeper to a certain extent. That's not enough to win the league. So I share the pessimism, and I respect it, because you have to feel concerned because the squad is very much short on quality.
Exactly. It's the same old in that regards. Like, I'm still talking about the left. Like, Kenny, I'm at the point where obviously if we win, I'm going to be happy. If we lose, I'm going to be vexed. I'm past getting at things, and I've just not accepted, but accepted. The club, the people above Mikel Arteta are going to work in their own way. My hope is Mikel Arteta, bar the Bilbao game, and granted the season has just started, we still got those same teething problems in the middle and final third. To be fair, against Man United, there was a couple of occasions where we did try and break quickly, but that didn't really happen. If nothing changes, nothing changes. I don't see anything that makes me think, oh, you know what, that gives us the edge. I expect us to be in with a shout, but I don't see any different. I don't see enough difference makers. I see a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda. And as you know yourself, because you're older than me, if we want to be a team that's getting top four and sniffing at it and having some great nights like against Real Madrid and City, we've got enough. If we want to get over the line, then we need to have more answers than questions at this point. It's not that I feel the attackers are bad players, but they're purple patch guys. The only one you're going to throw your hat on is Bukayo. I would obviously throw my hat on Gyökeres because I wanted him. I do think Mikel Arteta tactically needs to show us something a bit like the Bilbao game. So it's always wait and see. I always say sometimes, Kenny, I think we're our own best friends and we're also our worst enemies. And I genuinely think in these last 3 years, we've shot ourselves in the foot. Genuinely.
You say that, but the thing is that what we've seen since Pep came into the Premiership, and since Jurgen Klopp, came to the Premiership. If you sort of like look at the teams that have won the league, the teams that competed in the league, or the best teams in the Premiership, from about from August 2017, the two best teams in the Premiership have been Liverpool and Man United, because really and truly, you look at the fact that Liverpool won 2 titles. They've won, domestic and European trophies. Man City have been a dominant figure, but the team that's actually really pushed them, as well as taking titles off them, is actually Liverpool. We've run them close in 23, 24, and 22, 23.
Liverpool lost the war, but they've won some battles.
We haven't taken anything off them, and that's where the problem is. You know what I mean? And that's where all the nuances or the problem is. And I think that's where the pessimism is, because ordinarily, when you look at that, I go back to my point I made earlier. The peak Arsenal, when Arsenal actually looked like they meant business, was 23-24. Last season, we're way short of that. And then you look at the Gyökeres and you think, right, with Gyökeres in the team, we're going to get there. But the situation is, and nothing's changes anyway. You can spend £70 million on Gyökeres, but the main man at the football club is Bukayo Saka. The problem you have with making Bukayo the main man, he's come back from a serious injury. Now, last season when he came back, he was adrenaline. You know the score. You've played a game. I played a game. If my coach, if my physiotherapist says, right, you're 8% fit, I won't rush it if I was you. Just take your time.
In the back of your mind, you're still going to play.
Real Madrid's around the corner. If I'm 8% fit, I'm playing against Real Madrid. And I just think,
Kelly, that's why I say to you, when it's all said and done, I feel sorry for the players. Everybody gets criticism, but I have a lot of sympathies for the fans and the players only. Those above that, not really. because
I hear
of
you,
stuff like that.
but if you're Bukayo Saka, you know, everyone told me that they were cooking me, whatever that means anyway, and said I was wrong about Bukayo Saka. You know, how can you say he's not fit? You're not. How do you know? But common sense says that he probably wasn't. But the adrenaline and the thought of playing against Real Madrid
And the
got
rehab
him
to
through
be
that.
fair.
And then you think about the whole situation with when you think about the PSG game, because we've beaten Real Madrid. We've now got the games against PSG. So the games in the league, they're going to help me get match sharp
Get
and
back
match
into the
fit
groove
back.
of
I'm not
things.
really fit, and I think that's the situation. But and then he's come to the season. We don't know how he looks. He wasn't great against Man United, but nothing's changed since 2021. He's still a main source of
He's been our main man since he was left back, really.
yeah. And most importantly as well, if he has a good season, then Arsenal may have a good season. If he doesn't have a good season, doesn't matter whether Gyökeres, turns up or Odegaard improves. He's the main man. The team's built around Bukayo Saka.
Where you at with, on the topic of Saka, yeah? Where you at with, because some say move him over to the left and get Madueke. That's a chance to kind of bin Nelly. Where you at with that? I'm not for that because I think for two reasons. I am of the belief, that you don't move your star man, he's in his position. And I also feel kind of piggybacking off of what I just said. I feel there's a lot of issues with us in the attacking third, innit? If we was playing scintillating football and I never had these things, I'm open to trying stuff. But it would feel like, for me, creating another issue.
The thing about it is that, obviously, the only way you move Saka is you move him in the kind of that role, in that sort of role that Cole Palmer has at Chelsea, or the role that Gareth Bale assigned to himself, where they're not sort of designed to play in the left of the attack or the right of the attack. They roam into areas where they can't be found, like Cole Palmer. You look at the goals he scored in the World Club Championship final. Both those goals, he was in areas where you can't mark him. He got himself where he found space where the opposition couldn't get to him, and he was able to, because other players were making space for him, like Pedro, and was making space for him. He was able to get in there, ghosting, average 2 shots and goals. And if you move Saka anywhere, you're moving to those sort of positions where he's got a kind of a freer role, because obviously you know that he can beat his man, you know he can draw fouls, and you know on that left foot from 20 or 30 yards he'll have a shot and go and he will score. So you know that you can play him in that position, but that's the only position you can play him in. But when you talk about the right hand side, he's actually made that position his own, not just at club level, but he's made that position his own international level. So really and truly, you can only do it within a football match where you interchange to make the opposition think, and you drag the opposition out. You give the opposition a decision to make. Saka moves to the left. Does his man marker or a left back move with him, or does someone else have to take that position? And the same with Madueke, who might play on the left, or Martinelli. So those are the sort of situations where if you play Saka and say, like, play left wing, you take away the ability to get into in the box and have shots and goal and score. You take away the ability where if I'm Saka and I'm playing the left hand side and I'm playing against the right back wants me to cut in my right foot because I'm not right footed.
Exactly.
But the left back doesn't want me to cut in my left foot. He doesn't want me to do that because he knows that if he goes in, that means the midfield and the centre halves have got more work to do. So I've got to get him down the side,
taking down the flanks, innit? Yeah,
you've got to make sure that he doesn't get in behind me, because if he gets in behind me, I'm dead because I can't tackle him. And that's where Saka's kind of masters that situation. Like you had Pepe, he played that position. Pepe is a different kind of player. You can't compare them because they've got different strengths, different attributes. But I can tell you categorically now,
Saka's more calculated though.
And create from there. He's not going to want to get him behind on his right foot. He could do it, but he doesn't want to do it. While Saka has got those sort of other aspects of his game, and his decision making is still the best.
Facts. One love for the super chat, Farhan the Gunner. I don't know why StreamYard isn't highlighting them. I see we've got two, so big up you. I'm gonna go look for the other one.
StreamYard has had problems.
Taking a piss,
the last. No, well, remember myself, Lee, Jez,
That's what I'm
DJ.
saying. Everybody's got the issues. They're taking a piss.
Yeah, we had to cancel podcast, postpone a podcast, and do it yesterday, and in turn postpone Jez's podcast at 6, and we're doing it. I'm going to do it today. So it's one of those things where I 100% know where you're coming from regarding this, but you know what? It is what it is. Maybe it's a situation that it's a football season. The real stuff is coming. New podcasters have been born, which means everyone's, doing a podcast. So I think the whole system has got saturated. But I always said yesterday, as you remember on Dan's show, I always say to people like yourself, the sun is going to be shining this season.
There's eyes on us, yeah.
Much. So you're going to have to make your hay, because this season, regardless of the fact that Liverpool are favourites and Man City, people are quietly saying that they're back. Arsenal have to win the league or the Champions League, or there's going to be anarchy. Not caused by me, but caused by impatience.
Exactly. Big up yourself, Farhan Gunner. You said, I was so sure we were done with the signings, but now with Kai injured, I think we're going to go big on the left-hand side. We should have been going big on the left-hand side anyways. One thing I will say,
that's not how business works. That's not. You got to remember one thing. We're fans. Right. We're fans. And you know what it's like when you go to football. You can sit next to a tree surgeon or a brain surgeon, and then in front. All right, let me tell you what I do when I go to Arsenal. When I'm at Arsenal, in front of me is a school teacher who's from my area but lives in Turnpike Lane. The guy who sits next to me is a banker. The guy who sits behind me is like an assistant deputy headmaster.
So everyone's got different living experiences and interpretations.
But the guy across from me can be an accountant, right? But he's not a football fan. And he's an accountant, but he's a football fan. So the reason why he's a football fan, because like me and you, he's divorced from all the realities of football finance, even though he should know better. Like, for instance, you know deep down that if we're spending big money, we're going to have to make some sort of sacrifice. We have to
because of how we operate.
Yeah, but you don't want to hear that. You want to keep all our top players. You don't want to. You don't want to.
Oh, Kenny, what?
No, that's nothing you say, because you're a fan. For instance, if I were to tell you that in order for Arsenal to get the left back, get the left winger, and probably get another top class midfielder, we're going to sell Saliba for £150 million. You'll fight me.
I won't, because 150 million.
Yeah, you fight me because you're a fan.
150 million, he's got to go, bro.
Yeah, but ultimately, you ain't going to want to hear that because you're a fan.
I hear the point.
And that's the thing. But the problem is that because there's so much wall-to-wall football, not just on social media, but on the mainstream, and a lot of these football programs, they get these experts on from like Deloitte or a guy who's the football expert, the football business reporter for the Times or whatever that. We're kind of being educated into football finances, sometimes against our will, but we have been educated in it, and that's why a lot of us know our logical side of our footballing brain will say, "Yeah, we've got a point here."
Fair. Big up,
but you know
Conrad.
Conrad said, that's necessity. Conrad's right. That's necessity there. We don't know the extent of Kai's injury, but we know Gabriel Jesus' injury is long term. No. So we have to buy. We have no choice.
Again, we've kind of pussyfooted around it, Kenny. Yeah, but like, talk to me, man. Kai Havertz injury. What you feeling about it? Some are saying it's a blessing in disguise.
No,
I find it a bit funny because no one rates him, and now they're crying. Where are you at with this?
No, it's not a blessing, because simple reason is that it's a situation where you still got a player in your books who, whether you like it or not, he was our top goal scorer. All right, it was 9 goals, but he's still our top goal scorer in the league. Whether you like it or not, his first season was kind of like I said, a qualified success. He wasn't like an out-and-out success. But when you think about the second half of the season, the goals he scored, the important goals he scored, the fact he got into double figures where he's finding his feet, he is a qualified success. Also, we know that he's one of Mikel's SLD trying to be me, eh? Love him, love it.
This guy's a madman.
Yeah, but if you look at the whole situation, he is one of Mikel's go-to people. So it is a big loss. For you, and me, it's the numbers thing that makes it a big loss.
Exactly.
It's not the fact that we looked at this player and he's such a world-class player that he's going to when he plays, he has these sort of world-class moments, and that that he's going to deliver week in, week out. That doesn't happen with Kai. That happens every 2 or 3 games, every 3 or 4 games. But we do know that he will have that kind of match-winning moment. But ultimately, it's a numbers game with him.
I wanted him for Anfield as well, if I'm honest, in some capacity.
Well, another reason why you miss Kai is the unspoken and unworded, fact is that Victor's not fit. Victor Gyökeres is not fit. You wait because he's unfit. You don't have that option of Kai Havertz if he's struggling, like he struggled against Man United. You had that option of Kai Havertz where he was able to hold the ball up. His teammates trusted him to get into areas where he could, stem the flow of the Man United attacks by holding it up. Whilst Victor is learning how we play. Now, say it goes like pear-shaped against Leeds, and what we mean by pear-shaped is Leeds camp out on their goal line, block, and it's 0-0 with 75 minutes to go. Victor's absolutely knackered. He's on his last legs. His tongue is on the floor. You don't have the option of Kai now, do you? You don't have the option of Kai.
It's Marino or bust in that regards now, unless you want to go down the
top. But you and I know, hand on heart, Marino has been a very good service for us last season. He's very good. But ultimately, the better player and the more established player and the player that we will trust is still going to be Kai.
He's got a longer body of work.
You don't get wrong. Boy 10 Dio, you're right. I respect you for that. And I slightly agree with you. But when you look at Mourinho, he was effective in the short time he was there. But there's other aspects as well, where Kai, the hold-up play, the shithousery, the getting us up the field. You know what I mean? I think he still does that better than Mikel Marino.
Who do you prefer in midfield? Because this is a chance to ask you this. I think nobody wants to see Kai Havertz or Marino in midfield, but starting in midfield, which is the one for you? Because for me, it's actually Kai.
Well, Kai,
Marino gets overran.
If it's from an attacking point of view,
let's say left 8.
Well, you look at Kai, but if you want to talk about a general midfielder, Mikel Marino has probably played that position more times at club level, and
he does look better there with Zubi.
Zubi. But the problem is Mikel is that he's got his own sort of attributes. We know Mikel, because of the way he plays, he can get into naughty areas, what I call naughty areas, where he can get into on the end of things because he's
not
good
quite Cole Palmer, but like this aspect of the ghosting thing you're talking about.
And he can, like I said, get those little scraps, put the ball in the back of the net. He can do that. But in terms of the other aspects of the game and aspects, Kai gives them something different. Like, for instance, Mikel's a midfielder. Kai is what I call maybe a split striker. Could be playing the Odegaard position. But he's kind of an expensive indulgence. He was for instance,
I love the way you put that,
He was an expensive indulgence at Chelsea because he was signed from Leverkusen based on his potential as a generational talent. Mikel's bought him from Chelsea as a player of indulgence signing. However, he's kind of like a toy where if you want to sort of like use certain tactics or different tactics, he's the man you'll go to.
There's use for him in that regards, to be fair.
Yeah, and that's that. He's like a toy. But the problem is that one thing you can't take away from Kai, if it wasn't for Kai Havertz, Chelsea wouldn't have won the Champions League final.
Champions League winning guy playing up front.
Yeah, and you think about it, the way they got the goal as well, big punt from the goalkeeper, little flick on, and Kai is very good at getting on the end of things. We now know
he's had his clutch moments for us as well,
and he's got pace as well. Marino has.
He's a very intelligent footballer. He's just not pleasing on the eye. We shouldn't have brought him, but we're
one thing is that he's quicker than Marino. He's got actually genuine pace. Marino hasn't got any pace. You only have to see.
That's why I don't like him in midfield, Kenny.
Yeah, but you look at Havertz. You remember his goal against Liverpool when we beat him 3-1 at the Emirates, where in Klopp's last season, where hit the third goal. That I think Trossard scored the third goal, but when you looked at Havertz, what he was involved and he was getting getting behind Liverpool defence. You're thinking, hang on here. Have you noticed?
I could even be wrong, Kenny, but that same season, did we not bring on? I can't remember, but I'm sure for some reason I remember Tomiyasu and Kai Havertz. I'm sure we pumped it when we played City.
Yes,
Havertz, general play, and Martinelli scored. I could be wrong.
Exactly, and there was another.
That did happen.
Yeah, and there was another nuance as well. If you look at the goal he scored in pre-season, that's pace, isn't it? That's the pace aspect, and he's got a good set of heels. Whilst Mikel, he gets into good positions. He's a good runner, but he's got no pace. So I think
he plays the game at his own pace, really and truly.
Yeah, but Mikel is finding his feet.
He's more of a floater, I'd say that than Kai.
Yeah. Junior films. Will I take Bukayo? I'm tempted, yes, because
that's going to be peas.
I think the fan base will be very happy to take Bukayo because, but the thing about it is that I say it respectfully to Arsenal Football Club, a club that I love with all my heart. It's not a good time for a young player to leave PSG. Something's happening there. As much as you may get first team football at Arsenal, it's not a good team to leave PSG. They're European champions. They're the Super Cup champions. They got to World Club final, got smashed by Chelsea. But you think that
can't win them all. You've been around stuff.
Yeah, you think about all these young players they've got there, like Doué, Bukayo,
even Neves in midfield.
Sky, Emery, all youngsters. You think of even Cataspalia. If they keep that team together and they don't decimate that team could be like a team that can dominate, not just domestically, but they can dominate in terms of Champions League. They may not win it every season, but
they'll get to
it'll be a situation where you have to beat them in order to win the Champions League. Like, for instance, you remember Rafa? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have him near me at SLD. I wouldn't have that man within each of me.
Jadon Sancho?
No, I don't want him anywhere near the club because simple reasons that I want hungry players. I don't want players because if you're not hungry at Man United, then don't come to my club. Because if you can't be motivated to play for Man United, a team of great stature, a team of
biggest in the land, potentially world,
albeit in the past, then don't come to Arsenal and think that you're going to do it there because it doesn't work like that. Because you didn't,
and you're in London as well, so you're going to be more complacent.
So that's the thing. He's in London, but getting back to like PSG. Remember Liverpool under Rafa? They won the Champions League in 2005. They got to the final in 2007 when they lost to Milan. But you always had a feeling from about 2005 up until 2009, no one wanted to play Liverpool. They're a team where you think, oh, God, no, not them. And if you beat Liverpool...
You start thinking, yo, we might win the Champions.
Yeah. Well, PSG got the opportunity to be that kind of club where they ain't going to win a Champions League.
They did that last year.
But they got a situation where they're a team that when you look at them, they're all together. This is their team where they can be the team that everyone fears in Europe. Not Real Madrid, because Real Madrid think the Europe Champions League is their right. And it is their right because you win it 15 times. Of course, it's your
should be renamed after you lot, to be fair.
Yeah, should be renamed after them, you're right. But there's a situation with this young side. You got to make the thing about you think, no, I haven't actually, not at all.
Let's just say his decision making is terrible off and on the field.
I don't know anything about him off the field, but a South London boy, I'm not saying that. You can imagine what he'll get up to when he comes back in South London. But when you think back to what my point about PSG and Real Madrid as well, I just think that what PSG have in their favour is that they got an Arab trillionaire where Real Madrid can't go there and take liberties with any of their players because there's genuinely money there, and they're genuinely in a position where they can dominate in Europe if they want to, if they keep Enrique.
That's all they wanted. So they're finally slipping at it.
It was, if you look at other teams that won the Champions League or got to a Champions League final, they get decimated. Remember Leverkusen in 2002, they got the Champions League final against Real Madrid. Bayern Munich went, there you go. Same with Dortmund. PSG, a different kind of
even teams that get to the latter stages, like there was an Ajax. I'm sure the year them not down the road got to the Champions League final. Ajax, I'm sure that year Ajax had some ballers. They're obviously all
Ajax, you know, that's a great example. Ajax got to Champions League semi-final. Look what happens to them. All their players got decimated, and I'll say it respectfully, because it's not a nice thing to say, but how many of those players went to the bigger clubs and actually done it? Name me one.
It didn't work out for Ziyech. It didn't really work out for De Jong. It didn't really work out for De Ligt's at Man United. Have been at Juventus and all them things, but none of them have really gone from being wonder-kiddie kind of guys to establishing themselves.
Van de Beek. What happened to him at Man United?
Van de Beek, probably the biggest fall from grace of all of them.
And I think
that we're missing out a couple as well.
You know the guys who went to Chelsea. Who's the guy who went to Chelsea? Ziyech.
Yeah, Ziyech.
Ziyech did really work for him in Chelsea.
Ain't bang for him. De Jong not really setting the world alight at Barcelona.
And that's another temptation if you get Bukayo. But the thing is, I love him. I love Dua. I love all their young players. But really and truly, right now, they're at the right time of their careers. Let's not forget, before they won the Champions League last season, the season before that, they got to the semi-finals where they lost to Dortmund in the semi-finals, home and away. So they made. I know what you mean. Sancho and Madueke, though, I'll say.
Bars on the floor.
You see, the problem with Sancho is that, and if you want me to really be cruel, to be kind, the only time you've seen the best of Sancho in the last sort of 5 or 6 years was when he went to Dortmund.
Not in the country, man.
He went to Dortmund. He played his best football. Maybe he's suited to a slower pace. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's a lifestyle thing for Sancho, man. Like. And I hear it because Kenny, I hear it on both sides. Yeah, I understand. You know, Jadon Sancho. People say, "Oh, you haven't hit your potential" and all of that stuff, and they might be right. And his hunger, but then I look at it differently. This is a guy that's, you know, as you said, South London football is all he's probably known. Council estate, so he's getting paid for one doing his job. He's played for 2 of the biggest teams in this country, and he's obviously free actually if you include City, and went over there earning a shit amount of money. And he's just living life. So I'm not saying you're not hungry, but from a job perspective, maybe Sancho's thing is one where you don't really, it's not that you don't care, but and you've played for England. It's not that you don't care, but you don't care. Maybe it's when you retire, you look back and think, oh, did I really reach my full potential? Or is it just a job for him? Which there's no issues with that. I just feel as football fans, we do kind of get in that trap of potential. What if he's cool? What if he's actually reached his full potential as well?
You look, you made a really good pertinent point about the London thing. You know, Rio Ferdinand, when he was on like Stick to Football with Roy Keane, he said that he always says that when he was at West Ham, you know, he was the first team at West Ham. He's closest to the England team, but he was still living around like the South London, Kent area. He still had his boys from Peckham. His words were, "I need to get out of London if I wanted to continue my career." So he went to Leeds. They went to Man United, as far away from Peckham. And you look at.
I remember Sterling saying something in his early career.
You know what? I was going to get to that, because you think about Sterling. Sterling went to Liverpool at 15 from Queen's Park Rangers. Had a good career at Liverpool. Went to Man City. Best thing that ever happened to him was to go to Northwest, and bring up his family there. He came back to London. Look at his career. Now, that could be down to burnout, because he started playing competitive football as a teenager, and sometimes your body and the demands in your body is just unbelievable. Where you and I, our burnout, me and you will burn out probably when we're about 33, 34. I'm an old man.
The only exception is probably James Milner. You look at Rooney, look at Cesc, look at all of them.
Yeah. What did James Milner have to do? James Milner had to do his yoga. He don't drink. Drank his water. Ate
he had to do the most, yeah.
Yeah, sports science is better now than it was before. You look at Cristiano Ronaldo; they're virtually the same age. Born in 1985, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Jay Mill born in 85. So they're in lieu with sports science. But you look at Wayne Rooney, same age as them. There's no way Wayne
Metabolism
Rooney
caught up with him, man.
Yeah, but metabolism. But another thing as well, refueling. There's no way Wayne Rooney stuck to the sort of diets that
100%
Ronaldo and James Milner did. Wayne Rooney was still like a pint in Liverpool. He still done all the things. He's still eating all the foods. You can tell that Wayne Rooney has got a physique where it needs rigorous training because of the fact that he's got big bone density, stout lad. He has to train.
Probably a grown-up looking man since 14.
He switches a diet. You know what I mean? George Groves, the boxer. You know George Groves, the boxer. George Groves, stout guy, big lad,
lad,
strong lad. But he has to, in order to get ready for fights, he can't have his Haribo's. He has to, kind of sort of like have a strict regime of, well, I've got big bone density. Look at my chest and everything. But yeah, big bone density, which you associate with black people. But there are a few, white guys, especially guys from like the Irish, our cousins in the Republic of Ireland and our cousins from like parts of the Balkans, big bone density as well.
Yeah, them Balkan kind of man. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Balkans, and they have to sort of like train on a regular basis. Whilst you look at Cristiano and James Milner, discipline.
That's the only word.
Yeah, and obviously when you watch Cristiano Ronaldo, he's lost that yard of pace, but he makes up for that.
He's been able to survive. He's adapted and had discipline.
He's adapted his game.
And it's weird, bro. He's not rated for that. Like people are like, oh, all he does is score goals.
Because you know what? Because we're Messi. Because I'm a Cristiano Ronaldo man from a footballing point of view. Because he's tested his career elsewhere, and that I think he gets unfairly judged. Because if you're going to say that that Messi's the GOAT, and you're saying on footballing ability, I respect you. But if you're saying Messi's the GOAT because I don't like Cristiano Ronaldo because he's selfish and it's all about him, and he's always whinging and whining, that's not a football. That's not a football discussion. You can always have your preferences, but make sure you have your preferences for footballing reasons. Of course, you're going to say Messi because of the fact that he's got quick feet, he beats his man. We love to see players who can dribble at the top level, and we like the fact that he can score goals. And you think, bloody hell, how did he do that? And you know what? Believe it or not, left-footed players, especially a small toucher, it's like snooker. You know what I mean? When you watch a snooker player and he's left-handed, we like
I'm
it.
left-handed. I'm in the wrong foot.
Attractive, but you know what I mean. Jimmy White, when you used to watch him play snooker, he's a left, and then when you watch left-footers, you kind of segue into left-footed players like Maradona, left-footed. You know what I mean? And you think, "Ooh, that's really nice to watch." And Messi left-footed, and it's one of the things where it's so different. The southpaws, they get really sort of like excited about it, and then you look at a right-footed player, it doesn't seem so exciting.
We're used to it.
Exactly. Like
the only exception is genuine players that are both-footed, like a Sancho.
I know you hate cricket. But it's the same with cricket. You think about the left-handed batsman in cricket, left-handed batsman, Brian Lara. You must have heard of Brian Lara.
Come on, West Indies, we're here, man. Come on. What's the other one as well? There's the next one.
What? The fact he scored loads of runs, he's brilliant. But I don't know. It's like it was different with as a left-hander, and I think that's what it is with football. Left-handed players in snooker, left-footed players in football, and everything. It's something because we're in life, majority of us are right-handed, are right-footed, and then when we play other sports like football, we work on our left foot. You know what I mean? And sometimes we wish that that we were left-footed and two-footed. Yeah. But it's not that. The only players who's generally two-footed. There's only very few players that are generally two-footed. But
Osman Dembele, Santi Cazorla come to mind.
You know what I mean? We always look for a far. Bloody hell! I wish I could dribble like that on my left foot. I wish I could just look that skillful and look. You know what I mean? That really great in the ball, and we admired that. And I don't know, but Messi is a great player. But so is Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think when he's gone, and when he retires, we're going to appreciate it when he's gone. But we ain't.
Do you know what the double-edged sword with him is? It's because he's been, as dumb as it sounds, he's just been playing so long. Like, I rate the fact that, like you said, Ronaldo's gone everywhere. I actually like the fact that I wouldn't say he's become boring for the football purists, but there are some people that just want to be entertained. They're not really happy that he just scored goals. For me, I think that's adaptation because he's declined and still been able to do things. My favorite version of Cristiano Ronaldo, because we all remember him. We remember him when he weren't Ronaldo. He used to dive on the floor all the time. The only time when I started to take Ronaldo in, it was the fallout after the World Cup. Do you remember he had a good season going into that 06 World Cup? He done the wing, the world hated him, and then he just became messed up.
But you know what's happened is that you think about the situation. Let's not forget, we're all England fans. I admit it, you admit it. Some people don't want to admit it, and I respect that. But let's not forget, Portugal were playing England in a quarter-final. He's Portuguese.
I rate that because you're going to do anything to win.
Because he's going to fight for Portugal. Wayne Rooney's not his mate. Wayne Rooney's not from Portugal. Wayne Rooney's the enemy. Doesn't matter if they're club mates. Portugal were playing England. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just like Messi, despite the fact that, everyone associates him with Barcelona, Qatar, he's an Argentine. You know what I mean? And I think
you can tell he would have retired unhappy. And it's mad to say about Messi. He would have retired unhappy if he didn't win the World Cup. Now, personally,
you know what?
I think it was engineered for him. But
I'm so glad you said that because if I speak, that I think the World Cup was the biggest farce ever.
Too much things were happening in Argentina's favor for me. I'm like, there's something. I don't really believe in conspiracies, but I'm like,
the quarterfinal against
Holland.
Holland was just obscene. It was an obscenity. It was obscene. It's obscene. And even some certain aspects of that final against France was obscene. It's the most rigged thing ever, and it to the extent. But you can't never look, he's got the medals. And plus, he's gone to other tournaments in South America. He's won that as well. Where everyone looks at Cristiano Ronaldo, he dragged Portugal to that 2016 European Championships. And it's a miracle they won it without him in the final. It's a miracle because if he played in that game, he probably would have beaten France more comfortably.
Do you know what? I actually disagree. I actually think football's mad like that. That if Ronaldo,
you actually think that France would raise their game?
Yeah, I think because I remember that final. I think they were too complacent.
You could be right. You could be
right. They thought, no, Ronaldo, we're just going to do this thing. Like, because I've seen that happen at Sunday League. You hear you're playing the team and, they've, I don't know, Jimmy is a great striker. He scores 1 million goals and whatnot. You hear he's not there. And before the game's kicked off, you're like, they got him, they got that. You're complacent. I think I remember that's one final I won't forget, mainly because she only got put in the
I know. I don't even know in the chat room was. You remember the World Cup final in 1998 where Ronaldo, the original Ronaldo, we're hearing rumours that he wasn't going to play because he was injured, and then he didn't even, remember Brazil didn't even turn up to the warm up, and they played him, and you could tell he was injured, and France smashed them 3-0. And it was like, and it was, all the rumours came out that Nike were paying Brazil and that Nike needed Ronaldo. Because you remember that time when the 98 World Cup, a bit before your time, but just do you remember like every advert?
That's World Cup.
Was
everything
Nike.
Used to be R9.
Yeah, everything was with R9, and everything with Nike had the Brazilian national team and everything. And do you remember when they used to play friendlies in lieu of the World Cup tournament? They had to play their best players in every friendly, in every game on the way in lieu of that World Cup. And Nizara de Lima had to, I think they did. It was a case like who's paying us? Like the Brazilian Football Association sold those guys out, sold them out.
100%. For me, I still think Messi's better than Ronaldo, though. I don't think Messi. I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo's in the same category. Like, I'm not even trying to boy Ronaldo, but Ronaldo's for me. Messi's here for me, and that's not disrespect.
I don't agree with you because simple reason is that you look at the way they play, and you think about it. You say, bloody, I wish I could do that. But you mentioned earlier that the Cristiano Ronaldo that you loved was doing what Messi was doing.
Nah. I didn't say he was doing what Messi did. I said I liked the Man United one.
Let me just rephrase what I'm saying. Let me just put some meat in the bones. What I mean by putting meat in the bones is that you like Cristiano Ronaldo when he went past his man and he took the player on 3 times and crossed it eventually, or he shoot from blah, blah, blah. But him and Messi used their brains. They realised that they were getting free rolls, and that they need that the only way they were going to be called great is if they had the numbers. They became numbers footballers. Messi and Ronaldo. You remember when everyone went to watch Spanish football because you knew.
And everyone, didn't matter what team you support, everyone knew when the El Clasico was on.
It wasn't even that Clasico. You knew when you were watching the Champions League and you're watching Barcelona and Real Madrid, you actually weren't watching those teams. You were thinking, right, Messi scored a hat-trick. Cristiano Ronaldo, what's he done? The next day, he'll want to score one. Do you remember there's a game in El Clasico game where it was 2-2, Messi scored 2 and Ronaldo scored 2 at, the Nou Camp. I think it was about 2013. It was a case where it was kind of like they took each other to unreal heights. Like, as much as they loved the clubs they were playing for or employed by, it was actually more about, I need to have a good season so I can get the Ballon d'Or over this player. You know what I mean?
That's one thing. I think them two messed it up, not because of them. I think not that I've never rated the Ballon d'Or. I think in present,
you think it was just exclusive of those two already? Without
them two kicked it up, apart from Kaka, obviously. Them two made it a bit weird in that, kind of going back to what you said, that some people done I like Messi, so I think Ronaldo is rubbish and vice versa. I think it just became one of the two has to win it. It just became a bit agenda driven. It weren't really about the football anymore. I think them two kicked off that. Them two, for me, in my 30 years, football fans have always been tribal and stuff, but I think they kicked off through no fault of their own. I think they kicked off the tribalism, like the people that, I just support Messi. I don't necessarily care about Barcelona, or I support Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't care really about Portugal or Madrid. I think them two sparked it off. Like it's not really fandom, but fandom. I've got a problematic opinion for you, though. You're not gonna like it in relation to Ronaldo.
Oh, tell me.
I'm having Neymar over him.
I don't blame you for having Neymar over him, because Neymar, in essence, should have been not only at that level, he should be better than them, because you think about it, is that both of them, in essence, are coach players. He's not a coach player. He's someone that has got sort of natural footballing ability, which they both have. But what's happened is that you think about that. You think about the World Cup semi-final against Germany. Had he been fit, had he not been injured against Colombia and he played against Germany, that one, I think, even though Germany won 7-1, they won fair and square. And they actually ruined them. But you think about it, is that, can you imagine the mood of the team, the mood of the nation was like, no Neymar, what's the point? Can you imagine that after Neymar was the field? He would have lifted the whole country.
I feel sorry for Neymar. He's playing football in this Brazil age in the wrong time, because people have him down as some YouTube baller. At least you look at R9, Kaka. The list goes on with all them great Brazilians.
That level. But the problem with Neymar,
he's got joke men around him.
Yeah. But even if he's got joke men around him, let's not forget that if you look at the Maradona's team of 1986, that wasn't a team of worldies. The only worldie there was probably Valdano. All the rest of them were just hard-working players, even Bukayo. But Maradona,
to be fair, Messi has had shit Argentine sides. They're half decent now.
If you look at the Argentine side, I don't see any worldies there. Obviously, you see Dybala, or I like a lot. You've seen Alvarez, hard-working player.
They got proper monsters like Romero and them kind of man.
But they weren't at the peak of their careers. Di Maria, Diop, Dybala, and Lautaro Martinez, they were coming in on and off the bench, weren't they? Whilst Messi they played for Messi.
Even Alvarez was about. Of course, they played for Messi. Like, obviously, they played for themselves and their country and their family and all that, but they played for Messi to the point where I think it's a bit weird the way the Argentine players are on that for Messi. If I'm honest.
But I think they had that. I think Messi's is seen as the same sort of god as Maradona. Like, for instance,
now he has to be.
Well, he has to, but when you think about Diego Maradona, obviously before your time, trust me, Diego Maradona in that '86 World Cup, watching it at the time when I was only a teenager, those goals he scored against England and Belgium.
Who you got above? Who you like? Is it Maradona? Is it Messi then?
For me, it's not even that. It's I could say that without even having a.
I think I know where you're
being
going
a
to go.
dilemma. Maradona, in my lifetime, Maradona's the greatest player I've ever seen. Maradona, and I was brought up on Pele, and when I saw videos of Pele's, for me, it's always been Pele and Maradona, because of the fact that because the thing with Pele backs up his natural footballing ability with trophies for Brazil. Maradona backed up his godlike status with a World Cup, which he virtually won on his own. He won it on his own. There's no
Do you
doubt
think if
about
you
it.
saw Messi first and then Maradona, you might say Messi?
I'm just lucky I was born when I was born, because
You
you
are
know
still.
the reason why I say that is because I'm part of the. I'm glad that I was part of the argument with Pele Maradona. I was at an age where I saw a lot of Pele. Obviously, when I was 5, he retired in 1975, 77, and I was 5. But I was brought up on Pele, so you had before you guys had your YouTube, we used to have like video cassette recorders, like a Betamax
That's all my
or
uncle used to put on when I used to stay at his
yeah,
house.
VHS. If you watch any of the old 80s programs, there was no mobile phones. Everyone put 10p into the phone box and made phone calls.
Damn.
The police used to have walkie-talkies. You know what I mean? But but yeah, during that period, Pele, there was if you ever are lucky, if you're lucky, go and watch a video of Giants of Brazil. You have to watch it. If you love football, watch Giants
You
of
write that
Brazil.
down.
Yeah, so anyone in the chat, I'll say to you guys now, watch Giants of Brazil.
Giants of Brazil.
Because with Giants of Brazil, you'll see one of the greatest players of all time, Pele, the greatest of them all. But you'll see players like snippets of Galincha. And and what it does tend to do, it concentrates primarily on the 1970 World Cup. Now, that Brazilian team is one of the greatest teams of all time. And the football they played was, I don't think you'll see a team like that ever.
Do you really rate Pele like that though, man? Because he's got like 1,000 goals.
No,
he's counting his records from when he was about 10. Like,
yeah, but seriously, I'm lucky enough to be able to say I can say that. It's up to you guys to get the videos of Giants of Brazil, and then work your way up. It's primarily down to you. But I do think that Pele and Maradona are just up to a certain level. Because
Pele's better than Maradona, man.
Because when you talk about Pele and Maradona, you've got to talk about Johan Cruyff. You've got to talk about Michel Platini, and you've got to talk about people who grew up in the 90s. Have to talk about Zidane.
Oh,
so when you talk about when you talk about Pele and Maradona, and you talk about those players that come after them,
Ronaldinho's better than all of them.
You've got to look at Messi and Ronaldo, and you say, right, do they qualify? When you think about not just Pele and Maradona, but those players I mentioned after them. To be honest, they have to be part of that conversation, because anyone who scores 920-something goals, and the other one has scored 850 goals, and at international level, both of them.
If I counted my goals from primary school, I'd have Pele's record, man.
But you know what I mean? Both of them have scored over a century of goals for their countries. There has to be a conversation, hasn't there? And both of them won international tournaments for their countries, so their goals meant something, and both of them got a shed load of Ballon d'Ors and a shed load of Champions Leagues. They have to be part of the conversation. Like Johan Cruyff never won an international tournament, but he won 3 European Cups in a row.
To be honest, his skill is my skill. That's the one thing I do great on the football pitch.
The Cruyff turn. You know, the Cruyff turn. I think it's a fascinating conversation where to actually be fair to everyone, you've got to basically have a panel of people from all walks of life and
but you
all
lot might
eras.
have the nostalgia thing, though, man.
No. You have to have that conversation. You have to have fans of today who see Messi and Ronaldo, albeit in the tail end of their careers, and you've got to have fans who watch football in the 90s, where you talk about Zidane, and you've got to get the 70s and 60s where you talk about Cruyff, all this play, and you might even put George Best there. So to have a proper panel of football fans when discussing who's the greatest of all time, you have to be fair and get everyone in. Not have a free for obviously, you saw it. It's not going to be quite the debate we had on Dan's show yesterday. But
Dan, man, that was chaos.
No, it was brilliant. It was actually chaos. It was actually beautiful chaos. It was funny. It was the best time I've had on a show for a long time.
Literally, it's just a balance of opinions, emotions are high.
Well, the thing is, I must admit, I was actually going to send Dan a message to Dan that you wanted to join in, but apparently he already got your message. In the next minute, you were in there.
Yeah, man. I thought, let me be part of this, man. Let me see how it goes.
And you enjoyed yourself. I'm sure you did. You probably went on longer than you'd hope, but I'm sure you enjoyed yourself. But
no, of course I enjoyed myself. It's like I'm talking to people I know, innit?
You think about the GOATs of all time. You have to have a balanced panel where there's got to be advocates for Pelé and Maradona, advocates for Cruyff, maybe George Best. There's got to be advocates for Zidane, and obviously Messi, Ronaldo. At the moment, when you talk about the heir apparents, there isn't really any heir apparents, really, is there?
I think regardless of ages, I do think Messi has to be in everybody's. You don't have to rate him the best, but I think he has to be in everyone's, to the point where if everybody said they're top 5 players of all time.
What about Cristiano? Does Cristiano fit in there? Does Cristiano demand that?
He does, but I ain't going to act perfect. He ain't in mine. He's not. And he should be. Automatically, I do think there should be a law that it should be Messi and Ronaldo.
Is he the greatest ever Portuguese player? Because I've left
Eusebio. I weren't there for Eusebio, but I'd have him above him.
Yeah, but see, Eusebio was in the same conversation in the 60s and 70s as Pelé and Johan Cruyff. Eusebio. And you'd be the best person to ask. Like, are you having him or Ronaldo? Yeah, I've seen videos of Eusebio, and Eusebio did things that just shouldn't be allowed. You should go to jail for what he done. He was that. But
was he called like the Black Panther or something?
You know, our commentator said it's not allowed. How can you have that talent? It's not allowed, and also, and all those players that we mentioned, you just think, well, it's not allowed. You have to respect Messi and Ronaldo's records, but Messi, you have to. Diego Maradona, you got to watch him.
Baller.
You got to watch him. You got to watch him.
Half of those things off coke as well.
Yeah, pre-drink, but then you got to watch Pelé as well.
Pelé, I can't lie, man. When I watch Pelé on YouTube, it's not.
I know, but that's the thing. You need to be patient, and you need to watch Giants of Brazil. You have to.
I will watch it. I will watch it.
Get Giants of Brazil. If you get Giants of Brazil, you see what I mean.
It's not looking good, Kenny, though. The dribbling, he's counting goals that he scored since he was 7 years of age. So he's got 1 million goals. I don't know for Pelé.
No, but come on. Pelé, everyone says Pelé scored 1,000 goals in his career. In essence, he didn't. But a lot of those, part of those 1,000 goals, he scored, some of them were exhibition matches, and he counts them, doesn't he?
This is what I'm saying. Like, it can't be my goal.
But he still scored about 700 and something goals.
Yeah,
it's also over 700 goals, and he still won 3 World Cups.
Yeah, big up Pelé. World Cup at 17, and that big up Pelé. Like, big up you, but
he still won 3 World Cups. Man. He still won 3 World Cups.
Yeah, big him up for that. Yeah, Brazil thing. Big him up for that, and hopefully in his honor we win next year. But I don't know, man.
It's a good argument to have, but what we're doing is that it's such a shame that when you talk about great players, we've got to talk about great Arsenal teams.
Mario Baller,
brilliant player, scored about over 500 goals, over 560. I think he scored 700 goals as well. I think him and Pelé, their records in terms of goals for club and country is up there. 700 goals. He's a natural finisher, but a lot of people said. You know who I forgot about? I forgot about the original Ronaldo. That's criminal.
The real Ronaldo.
The original Ronaldo was unbelievable.
In my top 5. What made me fall in love with football? Away from anyone connected to Arsenal. Zidane.
Is the original Ronaldo better than Messi and Cristiano? Is Ronaldinho better than Messi and Cristiano?
Messi's the best ever.
You like Ronaldinho.
He's not better than Ronaldinho.
I'm assuming you like Ronaldinho.
Yeah. Messi's the GOAT, but nobody's better than Ronaldinho. I say this every day on my streams. It's not going to make sense, but it does. 100%.
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. It makes
Ronaldinho, man. Like, it's Ronaldinho. Like, it's Ronaldinho.
Did you rate Rivaldo?
Yeah, cold. Another cold one. This is when Brazil was actually decent. Like, obviously, I'm born in 95. So my beginnings of football was France being good, Brazil being good, Arsenal being good, and then you had a couple of the English teams, players doing well. So that's all. That's where my nostalgia starts. Yeah. Messi was the first guy. Okay, I'm old enough to deep football now. Amazing stuff from Messi, but them lot there, man, there.
No, I hear what you're saying because it's the whole situation is that it's such a shame that that the modern players, and it's even the modern Arsenal team, because you look at Arsenal, I still think. You know what, Jimmy? Yeah, Henry. Yeah, it should be
100%.
You know, the time when Nedved got the Ballon d'Or, it should have been Henry. Should have got it.
But you know why? Yeah. That's why I knew from then. The Ballon d'Or means nothing.
If we segue into like Arsenal and bring it into Arsenal, a lot of Arsenal fans in this panel, me and you, and obviously Arsenal fans in the chat. If you've put Henry into the greatest ever players in that conversation where we've named names and we've had to put names back in. We haven't put Dennis Bergkamp into that name, but
we're being disrespectful.
We don't want to be disrespectful, but at Arsenal, we think Dennis Bergkamp's the greatest ever Arsenal player. Yet Henry, a lot of us would vote Henry as the greatest ever Premiership player, and he should be in that conversation as one of the greatest players of all time. Yeah, Arsenal. A lot of Arsenal fans think he's second to Dennis Bergkamp.
I could understand that because it's not that he was his feature, but it's like him and Ian Wright paid homage to Bergkamp. I could understand it.
What would you prefer? Bergkamp's moments? Does Bergkamp's moments supersede Henry's consistency?
Kenny,
no, it's a good question. It's a good question to have.
Kenny, man.
No, it's a pertinent question because
it's a serious question.
Because the majority of Arsenal fans,
right? But Henry had his moments as well, same time.
But you ask the question again. Bergkamp's moments where you think is not allowed, to Henry's consistency and moments where you say it's not allowed. I mean, the goal against Man United where he just got it from it was a throw and he just got it and looked up and volleyed it and the whole crowd went silent.
Remember that goal against Liverpool invincible season? I'm sure that I could be wrong, but I'm sure we went out of Europe. We're feeling sorry for ourselves, and he patterned it for us.
But then
I'm gonna have to go on Henry, man.
Yeah, but you go that alongside his consistency. Then you look at Bergkamp. You think about bloody hell, the first two goals he scored for the club against Southampton, and then you look at the goal against Barnsley home and away. And obviously you look at the hat-trick against Leicester. The fact that he was in the he was goal of the month 1, 2, and 3, and then you look at Newcastle,
madness.
And then you look at his last ever goal for Arsenal against West Bromwich Albion. You know what I mean? And so, but was he as consistent as Thierry Henry?
No, 100% he wouldn't. Like, I honestly, Bergkamp be a 10 in today's day and age. Well, not this literally day of age because there's not really 10s, but back when there was 10s, I think he'd be a 10. You could, to be fair, he could be a support striker, but I think he'd be a 10. I actually think that there's a part of me that thinks he'd be a 10. I still maintain Henry could play up front in the modern day, but I think he'd be a left winger. Like, what we'd give to have him off the left. It sounds mad, but I could, if Henry was around, like if we just signed him tomorrow, I think you see Saka on the right, Thierry Henry on the left, and Gyökeres through the middle, and then you rotate and whatnot.
Of that, so at that, I think the problem is that sometimes when you put players into areas that they don't belong to, you just have to.
This is what I'm saying.
The challenge for the current players is that we should never lower the bar. We should never lower the bar. We have to. That's what they've got to aspire to. Yeah, we know the game's harder. We know the game's more tactical. We know the coaching is a lot better. That that 9 out of 10 times players and systems are there to stop creativity. They're there to stop flair. And I think in today's game, for you to sort of produce the numbers in today's game, you wish you were able to do it. But I still think it's possible to do that. I still think it's possible. I still think it's possible for Saka to thrive. I still think it's possible for Cole Palmer to do it, and all these players that the heir apparents. Because the reason why we know it's possible because Haaland's doing it still. Mbappe's still doing it. So if they could do it, you can. Especially if you're.
So where do you stand on this, Kenny? Because like my personal point, like you see, if you talk about like I don't know players from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s to today, yeah, I believe the players of them ages. Because again, to be fair to any of them players, Cruyff, Pele, Best, Maradona, obviously what you can get away with now and what you can't get away with now versus back then is different. Like these borderline attempted murder tackles, isn't it? That all of these ballers were getting.
Yeah, right. I'll go with you.
So I'm of the belief here that these guys naturally they could play in today's day and age without a shadow of a doubt. But then if I flip that the other way and say any guys that we think are ballers, should we say 2000? Should we say mid 2000s to now? Because early 2000s it was you could still get clamped and whatnot. But anyone who we think is a baller now, so let's say Cristiano, let's say Messi, let's say Neymar, maybe even some would say Hazard. Anyone in the chat throw some names in. Could them man play in that era for you? Where you are, you're getting kicked.
You thing is, there was good and bad in everything. We think it's bad because we're not seeing enough skill and we're not seeing enough panache on a football field, and we're seeing excellent coaches. We're seeing basically managers who get the whiteboard out and stop players from playing. However, the good thing that we loved in the 70s where everyone had it was a character, everyone played with panache. But the pitches they played on were very bad.
Another thing's bobbly. Like, that's why footballers are robots now.
Yeah, and another thing as well.
Everything's too perfect now.
If these players, if these players played in the 70s and 80s, the thing they'll have at their advantage to the players who played in the 70s and 80s is that the players who played in the 70s and 80s will have the skill and they're good enough to fight. However, one thing that these younger players will have over our forefathers is the fitness, the better diets. You know what I mean? The situations where they are concentrating more on their football. So they may thrive in that situation where everything's robotic, blah, blah. But they know that they'll be fitter and they probably will have longer careers because they'll probably be, because they're fitter, they'll probably be at their best when it comes to someone's career. The situation is different because in the 70s and 80s, the ball wasn't exactly played on the floor a lot, especially in England. It was always a long ball game, set piece kind of game. But in today's game, one thing you can never complain about is that you're seeing good football. In what I mean by good football, you're seeing. And what I mean by good football, what I meant is that do you want to see football? Do you want to see long ball game? Do you want to see people whacking it and chasing it?
Well, we see that bear. Remember, we support Arsenal. We see that bear. We've seen that every
do you actually want to see? So, do you actually want to see a match where they're all robots, but they all got good technique? Because what we see now with football is the technique is the players who play in the Premiership, especially the top league, they've got good technique, very good. Was sometimes you used to watch some of the games in the 80s and 70s. The players with technique were few and far between. You had plodders and shot putters sometimes, but in the Premiership, when you were at a top team,
generally the technical level in today's day and age is definitely higher because we've got goalies that are probably better with their feet than certain.
You think about it. Oh, you look at the Premiership. How many English players have we got in the Premiership?
Well, we got a lot. But if you're asking me if you think like the top players,
out of the 20 teams, majority of the managers in this country are foreign, right?
Yeah,
foreign managers are going to assist them players with technique. Even at Fulham.
But if we get into that, that's the way our country is, though. Like this country used to just copies everybody. When the Spanish guys were doing their thing, it was all about that. Brazilian, it was all about that. Whoever else comes French, it's all about that. They just copy things. We've never had an ethos. And I actually think in today's day and age, this is my hot take. I don't think people. I think people are robots. I think I've got two problematic takes. I think in today's day and age, obviously, if you're a young academy footballer, whether you want to believe, you're 7, 8, or I don't know, 16, 17, 18, obviously, you need to, in that kind of professional environment, I'm speaking about that, I think you could be a 6 out of 10 footballer. But if you're a 10, 20 out of 10 athlete, I think you can make it. In the early part of my life, you had to be you could get away with being big and strong and all of that, but you had to be a fucking baller. Like the ball, you're plucking the ball out the sky. You can't get the ball off you in the phone box. I don't think it's that. And I also think football is too different. When you mentioned the foreign footballers thing, right? And I think you're bang on the money, because everything with the English players, none of them are really got like, you know, like you look at even a Zaha, like they've got that. They weren't taught how to dribble. You can tell you was playing in a dodgy car park where there's a pothole and you have to dribble a certain way. It's too robotic. You're playing on perfect pitches, perfect actual. The manager is making you do the same thing over and over again. You get players like Phil Foden that are absolutely amazing, borderline top and world class, but have no heart and are generational, but it means nothing. That's my hot take.
But the problem is that you've got to remember one thing is that when you talk about players who don't have no heart and blah blah, back in the 70s and 80s, you had situations where players had to, apprentices had to clean the players' boots, they had to sweep the stands.
You couldn't be a pussy back then.
Yeah. But the thing is that the world has moved on. Not football, the world's moved on. You know, we have things like duty of care, safeguarding. So
player management, managers, the bullying players are gone as well now.
Yeah, you can't shout at a player. You can't shout at a player.
He's on the phone to his agent.
You can't scream at a player in his face because you just can't do it. So I think what's happened is that you have to move with the times, and the younger players is pussied around. But the problem is that as much as they do get looked after, one thing you can never account for is that those same players are in a situation where it's very ruthless. If you're at a club like PSG, Man City, and Chelsea, they spend a lot of money on players.
You're on a name and a number, bro.
You're a name. It's a 2-year deal. I always joke with my brother that when Roman first came to the club, if you're a player or a manager, it was a 2-year deal because Roman has to win every year. Roman had to win the Champions League. He got there eventually, won 2 of them. But because of the demands and the standards he set were so high, it was a situation. There was a high changeover of players. At Arsenal, we need to get to that. But for us to get to that, I don't think the psyche of the Arsenal fan would accept that.
You're asking them to change their whole thinking around a football club. We're not going to see that.
For instance, if you think about the team that dominated the the team that from about 2022 onwards, right? Say August 2022 is now August 2025, probably 4 seasons, right? We were in those 4 seasons. Mikel Arteta should have freshened up a bit. He hasn't freshened it up. He hasn't really freshened it up. I mean, Xhaka's left, Partey's gone, but it's certainly said
there's not really wholesale changes, quote unquote.
There's not real wholesale changes. Now, if that had been under Roman at Chelsea, there would have been wholesale changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he would have to do that, or you're going to get the clip.
Yeah. Or even at Man City, where Pep Guardiola, the reason why there wasn't wholesale changes is because they're winning. They're winning. You know what I mean?
No, the
Champions League, as much as it was his holy grail, domination was just as important to him as
bullied this league. 100 points, won it with no striker, probably a bunch of other statistics. He bullied. They turned City until they've fallen off at this moment in time. They turned the Prem to a farmers league. And then my unpopular opinion is it might have always been a farmers league. I know we picked United a couple of times. But
when Man United were dominating, was it a farmers league then?
Yeah, 100%. Before what?
You weren't born in the 80s. You weren't born in the 80s.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there. I'm only talking on the 2000s, really. Like,
when I grew up in the 80s, Liverpool dominated. Liverpool dominated late 70s and 80s when I grew up. Was it, it was a certain extent that during that time, from about 1976 to 1989, the only teams to win the league, apart from Liverpool, were Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, Everton, and Arsenal. Apart from those times,
that was a better period to live in. Really, seems like more people were this.
Apart from those times, from 1976 to 1989, you think from 1976 to 1989, apart from Everton winning it twice, apart from those other teams like Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa winning it, Liverpool won the title every other time.
So it's always been a Farmers League, really.
Liverpool won the title every other time. And if we go into like 1990, when that's a lot. And so
then you're talking United.
And that's the thing. Man United didn't win it once. Man City were an afterthought. Arsenal only won it once in 89. Everton won it twice, 85, 87. So it's one of those things where you're always going to get a situation. But then again, you look at Germany. How many teams apart from Bayern Munich won the Bundesliga? You can count them on your hands.
That's a Farmers League, 100%. What I've seen Leverkusen do it. I'm sure I've seen Dortmund do it. Yeah, there's probably a couple others, but now it's Bayern Munich.
Yeah, but before PSG's money, Lyon used to dominate.
Lyon used to bully it. Lyon was the team everybody watched in France. So I only remember one year, I think Montpellier, ironically, I think Giroud was there. I don't know why I was watching the French league. I think they won. I'm sure they won it. I've seen Lyon win it.
And we signed him as well, didn't we?
To be fair, we shouldn't have made him the Van Persie replacement. Wenger shouldn't have lied to us, man. Just told us the truth from the start. He's back in France, though, anyways. He's ironically at Lyon.
Look, Giroud's always going to. The reason why Giroud's always going to stand the test of time because he didn't lose what he didn't have in the first place, which is pace.
Yeah, I think he was underrated. He was frustrating, very frustrating. He should have never been. It's almost like because as I get a bit older, I feel like football kind of works in cycles, and I'm kind of seeing the same premise with my club in that I think Giroud and Kai Havertz are very similar, very different. I would take Giroud at this moment in time over Kai Havertz, especially if we're talking as a striker. But fundamentally, both are kind of facilitative players. Both at Arsenal we're trying to. You're playing up front, so I've always had the mentality that you need to get 20 league goals. I'm not saying you will. I'm expecting that. We're putting these guys in that. There's a reason Giroud didn't score a goal when they won the World Cup, but anyone that watched that World Cup, he did amazing. Chelsea, there's a reason all them little players like Havertz loved him because he's bare given goals and whatnot. The difference with Arsenal is we're looking at you to replace Van Persie and be the guy. So when you're going on those goal-scoring droughts and stuff like that, it's highlighted. I do think at the same time, though, people do look at Giroud's time at Arsenal with rose tints because he did flatter to deceive a lot of the time. But his highlight reels is up there with the best of them. If you were to get like, I don't know, like 20 Giroud finishes, he looks sick.
You're very sad at that. I mean, you think about it. We got rid of it. We got rid of it in January 2018. That season, he won the FA Cup and won the World Cup for his country. And he started games for his country. So I understand where you come from regarding that. But regarding Olivier, but the fact is that you can't I think what people tend to do, they rewrite history for Olivier, because let's not forget it. If we could get back into the zeitgeist of 2016, majority of Arsenal fans didn't rate Olivier.
Get him out, that.
And even when Olivier left, not many people were sad to see the back of him. And let's not forget, Olivier may have won the World Cup. He may have got to the European Championship Finals Cup. For Arsenal, he was an average, ordinary success. He wasn't out of that success.
Didn't he win the Puskas here, though? Sure he did.
One of his goals, yeah, but that's about it.
Yeah.
You know,
no. That's what I mean by rose tints. Like people, like I've seen people rewrite history and say, "Oh, we shouldn't have got rid of him." Like it weren't.
Obviously, funny. Was Olivier better than Alexis Sanchez? Don't you think?
Of course not.
Yeah, that's the thing. Alexis Sanchez gave us more moments than Olivier, and because of Olivier, we rewrite history. One thing with Olivier, you respect him because he's come from he's come from the bottom of French football. He didn't go to Clairefontaine like all his
exactly.
He was never seen as that kind of player, but he through hard work,
serious adversity,
he took himself to another level.
We could do with Giroud now, man. We could do with Giroud now. Kenny, let's continue this conversation, yeah? But I want to make sure we hit the points of this live stream as in the title. Trossard new deal. Talk to me.
Trossard's a dibbly-dobbly. He's a dibbly-dobbly. And you know what I say about a dibbly-dobbly? A dibbly-dobbly is someone... Hey, Dev Famson.
Come on, big up D and Dean.
A dibbly-dobbly is someone who basically is a master of none of the trades, but is effective, qualified effectiveness in most of them. Trossard ain't that striker. He ain't the best striker out there. He ain't the best left winger out there. He isn't the best false number 9 out there. But he'll do a job for you. Whilst at Brighton, he was a big fish. But Arsenal, he's not an Arsenal player. You know, he's got the we need him because obviously it doesn't make sense getting rid of him when Kai's got a major injury. You know what I mean? But
they never wanted to get rid of him, Kenny, man. The contract was on the table.
To be honest, hand and heart, if you're an Arsenal fan, is Trossard is he the player that you look at and think, right, because of Trossard, we can now challenge for the league.
If it was up to me, you get a serious, I don't know who, but you get a serious left winger. Trossard can be part of the squad.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be a star.
Are you going to build any statues of Trossard when he leaves Arsenal? Are you going to build any statues of Trossard when he leaves Arsenal?
No. Unless you do something mad from now to May that I can't think of.
Exactly, and that's the thing with Trossard. Trossard's actually, the reason why Trossard's actually got a lot of games is mainly because Martinelli's not good enough.
And there was bare injury, and Martinelli picked up an injury last year. I think it's criminal what we're doing on the left-hand side.
When Martinelli came back from injury, it was a case where for a lot of last season, and even towards the end of the 23-24 season, he wasn't actually sure who his best left winger was, because there were times when he trusted Trossard and Martinelli was better coming on the bench, and then it swapped around a bit. You know what I mean? There were times when even the fans were saying that, where we knew Martinelli,
whichever one pisses us off the least.
Yeah, we knew Martinelli. Like I said, scored important goals. He's got a lot of pace, but we weren't sure about him. You know what I called Martinelli and Trossard? I called them poor man's Overmars and Lundberg. Do you remember when Overmars and Lundberg? You think about Overmars?
Extremely poor man's.
Yeah, but they're extremely poor. But when Overmars came, he had a lot of pace, scored a lot of goals. Obviously, he injured in a move to Barcelona, and Freddie Lundberg came in that position, but he's a different kind of player. He hasn't got the pace of an Overmars. He's a strong runner, but he was the best I ever seen of doing what Trossard does for us now. You know what I mean?
I see where you're coming from.
You couldn't call him a dibbly-dobbly, but in essence, he was a dibbly-dobbly, but he's the best
like a one-trick pony, but he's so good at that one trick.
But he was the best dibbly-dobbly you'll ever see. Whilst he's just a dibbly-dobbly. And it's not putting him down because he's really masterly effective. But if you talked about the greatest Arsenal players of all time, Freddie Lundberg wouldn't get into the greatest Arsenal players of all time. But you will have a lot of affection.
One of the guys I got dearest in my heart, I say that much.
Because if you think about the 2002 double winning side, the "We Love You, Freddie" song was prominent because he will score the winner in sort of, when we were closing on the title and the FA Cup, it was Freddie Lundberg always getting the winner.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Him and Ray Parlour always say they're two of my favorite best of the rest Arsenal players. Yeah. We can sit here and do the Perez thing and the Omri and this one and that one. Them lot, like that kind of bracket.
Yeah. And but see, that's the situation with Freddie. And I always see, like, when you talk about Martinelli, they're poor man's Overmars and poor man's Lundberg, because it was kind of the same sort of thing. Well, how where towards the end of the 99-2000 season, Lundberg came in the team above Overmars, because Overmars, Wenger just went, "No, I'm not having it. You want to go to Barcelona? No, I'm not picking you." And Lundberg, but you always said what you were seeing was something different. You know what I mean? It's something really different.
Which is that. Uncle Kenny, if you don't trademark Dibbly-Dobbly, I'm going to trademark it and use it on stream.
No chance, mate. That's my words.
Dibbly-Dobbly. Big up, fam, son.
That's my words.
Have you got any hope of Rodrigo? I don't know if this guy's verified, but someone in the chat asked me to ask you. Allegedly, Rodrigo's agent is traveling to London. The agent will land in the evening. The agent will meet Arsenal and Liverpool to see what option can be offered to his client. The agent has requested
who's the source? Who's the source?
I don't know who this. I don't know. This guy's one of them ITKs on Twitter. But to be fair to him,
Real Madrid played yesterday. Was he in the squad yesterday for Real Madrid?
He's on the bench. He got 0 minutes. But to be fair to this guy, he did get credited by David Ornstein recently. To be fair, not that means anything, but yeah, I don't believe this full stop.
You know what this sounds is. You know what this sounds like, and obviously I'm not taking the mickey. I'm just being. You know the one where my nan works with David Beckham's nan.
Yeah,
and they're the best of friends, and they always have a tea break. And David Beckham's nan told my nan that David Beckham's going to go to Arsenal. That sort of thing.
Yeah, just bare whispers. That yeah.
Careless whispers.
I can't say. Listen, I'm past the point of dreaming of these things. I personally think our transfer business is done. Ornstein has spoken about just about we need to see dominoes falling into place. For what it's worth, David Ornstein people said, I do think Arsenal looked at Rodrigo and had conversations about internally, but that was quite a long time ago, and I don't think they went any further. Certainly not to my knowledge. It's not one I know Arsenal to be working on. I think there may have been some intermediaries who were aiming to bring Arsenal into the equation. I don't think Arsenal made a huge play for Rodrigo, and I don't expect him to come into the club. So if we're not getting Eze, who looks like he's going Spurs, and we're not getting Rodrigo, like, where do we turn to, man? Because you brought him out of work.
There's going to be a left field signing because that's what we do towards it. There's going to be a left field signing. Who knows? Because simple reasons that we do need the numbers now. It's an essential now. There's an injury to a player to one of Mikel's main men. You know, and the situation is he probably wants to keep Trossard, but there's no harm in him looking and thinking, you know what? Why not? We're short of numbers, you know. In terms of like, we may not rate Kai Havertz. We may not see him as one of our main men. But one thing you'll never argue about is what the job Mikel expects of him, and the job he does for Mikel would be probably tearing his heart out, because Mikel, from a tactical point of view, said, "Oh, for God's sake, not him." Of course he's going to say that about Odegaard. Of course he's going to say that about Saka. But in terms of him, he goes, bloody hell, this guy gives me options. 100%. This guy can play that one. He can play anywhere in the front three if I need him to. And he might be playing the attacking midfield. I don't have that option. So Mikel's going to have to sign someone, because he feels that as much as he likes Marino can't give him those kind of... those
like it's not really a match like that.
Yeah, and definitely like Mourinho give him something else, but he can't give him what Kai gives him. And Odegaard, as I said, so not Odegaard, I mean Leandro Trossard. You want him operating from the left hand side again, as I said before, hasn't got the pace of Martinelli, and he's a dibbly dobbly.
Do you think this is why they gave Trossard a new contract? I don't, yes. But.
Yeah, I think so, because at the end of the day, you think no, but at the end of the day, you think about it, Arsenal only announced the injury to today. They only announced it today, but you don't know what happened after Man United. He came against Man United.
He would have come out that he picked it up against Man United.
Yeah, right. So he would come out against Man United. He would have been assessed the next day at London Colney. Then Tuesday they would have had another assessment.
Another scan, and then it's all in the trouble.
They've had another scan and they're not happy with it. They would have gone to Trossard and said, look, we know you want to leave. We promised you would leave, but let's give you a pay increase, because we're going to need you now to at least January. You know, it doesn't exactly make nonsense, does it? It makes more sense than nonsense, because it's clear something happened against Man United. You know, you work in football. You know how it works. But
that's why I don't think it is.
The incident. You work in the media. You work in football as well. Football media and the media as well. The incident may have occurred a week before or days before, but you announce it when you're ready to announce
convenient,
it. You know
yeah, you keep it under wraps, and because even like it's completely off topic, but Zubamendi was struggling fitness wise. I think he had a cold or something mad, and he played against Man United. But that's why I don't believe it, Kenny, because for all of the talk in the media world and the real world, when you look beyond, because I think Trossard kind of got swept in this, we need to sell to buy and do all of these kind of things. We know that Trossard has had an offer on the table, and I understand both sides. I understand. For some time, I understand Arsenal saying, well, if you don't sign the contract, we're on anything in it. You can leave, you can be sold. You're someone that might have a market. But I also understand Trossard. He's naturally going to think, well, I probably only played a lot of football because there's injuries. The club are going to bring in people. I know I'm probably behind Martinelli. I know I'm behind Madueke. That's why when I look at Trossard, I didn't believe the sell to buy thing with him, because if you've given him a contract months ago, because we even heard towards the end of the season last year that you want to give him a win, you want to give him a new deal. That means it's quote unquote somewhat irrelevant for this Rodrigo stuff, Eze stuff. You're not really factoring in Trossard. So I don't really buy it. Maybe you're right in that it's come out now. Yeah, but I don't buy it with our club, man.
You say you don't buy it, but the fact is that
I'm gonna have to. But
the fact is that you think about it. We've got 12 days left of the transfer window. The fact is that
we probably buckled and gave him the demand he wants now.
So you're gonna do that. Now, who knows? We may get these players in, and we may not need Trossard, and Trossard can get his move after all. But everything. The horses is bolted. You know, like I said, traffic. There's a traffic jam now because of Havertz injury. There's a traffic jam.
Spanner in the works for real.
Basically, you know, they're not letting traffic pass, or you're on a train and basically a red light, so no trains can go through because of Havertz injury, and that's what's happened with Trossard. Because the club were very happy or his people very happy to leak the fact that he was linked to other clubs.
Every week he's being linked to several. Well, he was being linked to several clubs. I do think when you look at half of these players moving, and I know Burton needs to get a move on, but it's all fun and games saying sell Reece Nelson, sell this guy, sell Jesus, but for a bunch of reasons, they're not really attractive. Maybe if there were other clubs, they'd be able to shift them off. Where I look at Kivio and I look at Trossard, you're two players I think maybe a club will take a chance on you. You know, Trossard is quote unquote Prem proven. He could get into a lot of teams in like the other Premier League, if that makes sense, away from the traditional top six. Kivio seems to have a market, but again, like we ain't sold nothing or done it or done anything. But go on.
You used to remember one thing, right? I remember that time a couple of months ago, when we were all worried about Zubamendi not coming and blah blah. The transfer window ends on the 1st of September. You know full well that it can start really quickly and then it stalls. And then in the last few days, that's when it becomes the traffic, you know, it's a green light now. All the cars are allowed to go on the M25, you know, to their various destinations. And I think what's happening is that there's still, you know, a situation where Arsenal may have to make an emergency signing. Arsenal may say, you know what, yeah, you can go now because I can get this guy. There's still a lot of work to be done, believe it or not.
But a lot of work.
Knowing Arsenal, if we hadn't known about Kai's injury, we probably would have said our business has been done.
Do you think it's done? Or do you think this now, like, surely you have to get someone? For me, I think it's done purely because January. I know it's not the same, but January. Like, when it's all said and done, I actually thought surely...
You have to wait. You have to wait and see. You have to wait and see. But in that sort of position where Kai Havertz plays in the sort of forwards kind of strike midfielders, you would like to think you can get a body in. So
you've lost one of your top goal scorers. That's the reality of it right now, Mikel Arteta, dependent on how long he's out. And then we all know when do we get into that weird stage in the what would you say, like after the international break, October? That's when the Champions League's obviously here. That's when you're going to have a
no. But by the time you got to remember, the Champions League draw is on the sort of like, was it next Thursday?
It's coming up. But my point being, you're going to start getting those 2 games every 10 days, 3 games a week.
You know when the kids go back to school, The week afterwards, that's when you have your first Champions League game, isn't it?
That's next week, surely. The youths go back to school next week.
No, so the kids will go back to school.
Tell a lad, there's probably like 2 weeks left of the summer.
So say the kids go back to school on the week ending the 6th of September.
Mm.
The next week after that, the 2 weeks after that, that's when you have your first Champions League game.
Mm.
And then afterwards, you have a couple of games, and you have the international break. So yeah, it is coming, and we've got until the end of August to name our team for the Champions League. So we have to wait and see. The situation is that you just don't know. You don't know. You really don't know. And
that's a positive and a negative. It scares me and excites me.
The problem is that the question you need to ask yourself is that, are you going to get someone of sufficient quality in order to raise levels at this time? Because you look at what happened last season. We got numbers in. We didn't exactly raise our levels of quality.
I think we've done the same thing this summer. Like, I like Mascara. I think Zubamendi individually can be that. I think Gyökeres can be that. But not really. I'm just like,
I think Mascara's there just in case Kivior wants to go to Italy, because one of our best centre halves has had an injury. I don't know if he needed surgery to his hamstring, but we've had 2 players who definitely needed surgery to a hamstring. And you know what happens in football? You have secondary injuries after you come back from an injury.
On the route to recovery,
especially long-term ones. Like posture and the whole weight, it's different now, and you're always compensating for pain in one leg onto the other.
This is what I'm saying. So this is where it gets a bit mad. Do you think we're getting Morgan Rogers? Apparently, we're weighing up a swoop for Morgan Rogers. Aston Villa value Rogers at 80 million and are unlikely to entertain
Arsenal. You'd think that Arsenal, for them to pay that sort of money, they've got to sell someone.
It's Eze all over again. Who's going Spurs, which is mad.
You've got to remember one thing with Eze is that Eze, his talks with Spurs well in advance.
About 2 years.
To us.
And we've just been selling dreams, clearly. Like, we don't rate Eze as much as we need to rate him. We clearly want to flush players out. Too much dominoes need to fall.
Yeah, but the thing about it's about the manager. He's the most important person at the club.
Exactly.
Again, we know Eze's good enough. We want Eze, but the manager may think, well, I've already got Odegaard here. I've already got certain players. I've already got Kai. I've already got certain players. So Eze would be in a signing of indulgence.
Exactly.
As opposed to a signing of necessity.
Well, then he's going to have to hold that, whatever comes.
We see him as a signing of necessity. Mikel will 100% see him as a signing of indulgence, because he's got a set way of playing and because he's got set personnel to play that way.
No, when you put it like that, I can't complain. And that's why beyond the obvious as to why I'm not really giving fuel to the fire with these Rodgers claims, because he's almost the same. I like Rodgers. I'm sure everyone would. You're not going to play off that left. Well, you're not going to be the long-term option off that left where you can play there. We're not going to see any changes in the 8s with Zubamendi or Rise. Odegaard, we're at where we're at. It's a myth. Like, he's got the quality to play for Arsenal, but it's an 80 million luxury.
Well, that's the thing. Nothing's changed in the last sort of 2 to 3 years when it comes to like Arsenal's transfer activity. Mikel has always preferred to get a winger in, as well as getting like defensive cover, and he likes fullbacks as well. Strikers, he's one of the things is that he believes in kind of goals coming from out of the whole team, and that if you've got a sort of like goal scoring winger, you can turn that goal scoring winger or goal scoring midfielder into false number 9, and that's how you get away from it. The striker that he had him, the forward he had in mind was actually Šeško. Because of that, you don't have to sort of have any nuances or any changes to your style of play. But the thing with Victor, we just need to get him fit. The problem we got right now is that he has to get fit in by playing games for us.
So Marino going to have to alternate.
We can't ease him in because of the fact that we need him to actually. We needed him in the first place to get flying. We actually need him to be flying now. It's it's actually like, you know what I mean?
And this is where it starts. My last one for you then, Kenny. Kiwior remains the subject of strong interest from Porto, and club-to-club discussions with Arsenal are continuing. Arsenal would favour a permanent deal, but Porto are prioritising an initial loan deal that would become permanent next summer. Seems to be the case with this loan stuff.
Yeah, I'll get him out. We've got Mascara now, who we would like to think is a player that is going to develop into this team. He's a player that Mikel seems to have watched for the Spain under-21s. We can actually get those wages off the books. It's not many wages, but we do need to get him off the books.
And he's actually got a market.
And they want him on loan. There's actually like a commitment to buy him permanently. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't let him go. I understand Arsenal will want the definite, but football, there's no such thing as a definite. The only definite thing in football is injuries.
100%. Our managers getting sacked generally, not necessarily at clubs.
Well, you've got to remember one thing is that you've got the jobs where it's been a 3 or 4 month contract, or you've been a consultant where you work in a bank, or you're an accountant, you work in one of those Deloitte's, and it's like it's a consultancy job for 2 years. Football management's like that, coaches like that. You're consultants, but you're not permanent.
It's the belly of the beast.
On results, you know why people have bonuses. Work-related bonuses, or, when you work as you're a salesman and you depends on how many sales you get. Well, football management, it's about results, isn't it?
And that's the belly of the beast that we live in, man. It's results. You've got a short shelf life, generally speaking. Kenny, we've spoken about everything, man. My favorite part was the nostalgia about everything.
Well, the thing about it is that when you do those sort of programs, you have to get a massive panel, and you have to be fair. It has to be a situation where every person has to represent every era. You know what I mean? And
I might actually try and put that together.
Because you can't go up to a young fan and say, "Oh, you're talking crap. They're not good in my day." Just like you couldn't go up to someone like me and say, "Oh, come on, you old codger. You use Pele." Who's me? You got to have a balance kind of. You got to have.
Yeah, you're right. You have to have a balanced panel. Different voices, different ages and experiences.
Where everyone's got to get equal points, and where people because remember, you've got to remember, people my age, we are part of that discussion for Messi and Ronaldo and the younger players, because we're still alive and we still love football.
Exactly.
So
you don't provide a different perspective.
You've seen other stuff. The best of both worlds. I've seen all those players, and I'm seeing these players. Only that I've got the advantage I've got of you. You have to take my word for it that these players are great players, or you've got to watch Giants of Brazil,
which I'm going to do in a minute.
Please watch Giants of Brazil.
I definitely am. Next week, we're definitely going to speak about that, and I'm going to report my findings, man.
Next week, hopefully, would have beaten Leeds 2 or 3-0.
That as well, yeah. No, I'm going for 4-1. I know Leeds is going to be a lot more trickier, but I'm going to try and keep in spirits. I'm saying
Gyökeres scores. I'm going to have to avoid you, because I'm sure you. Oh God, here we go. I should have kept my mouth.
You should have mentioned his name.
Well, we're
going to get Kenny doing that before the end of the season, man.
Well, it's going to. I don't know if he scores 50 goals, maybe.
Unrealistic expectations, man.
All right, I'll let you go.
Oh, this guy. Come on, my guy, Kenny, man. I would say follow his YouTube channel. I actually share D from Fams on TV's opinion in that you should have your own channel, but he's anti-establishment. So, he's always got a home here for as long as he wants to be on the platform.
In life, you can never say never. Roy Keane said he'll never doing the punchy work. He slagged off pundits. He said it was a big waste of time.
And now
look at him now, anyway. He's the most.
That's what money would do, Kenny, though, man. Flash of money, you're gonna do that.
What they say? Even the angels listen when the devil throws money in their faces.
Facts.
Even the angels listen.
Facts. So yeah, we're gonna get Kenny doing this next week. On that,
people, I nearly done it out of habit, but I thought, I'm better than that. I remember that I'm over 40.
He's just not gonna do it on YouTube. He definitely does it if he watches the game at home or in the ground, man.
Well, he has to score first, and I have to be there, and then we decide.
I think you do our striker like that, man.
All right, I'll let you go, and I'll speak to you soon.
In a bit, Kenny.
The best chat. Remember, this is the best chat of ever.
Come on. So on that note, peace, people. Come on, in a bit.
He always just does tackle when like defending. I think it's like.